Yeah, wrong way. It's okay. It's all working. Oh, the mic? Okay, you can change that. Just you give me the other one. Hmm. All right. Bismillah. Mm-hmm. Okay, I need to share the slides.
I can get it in the stream.
It's okay. It's already on now. There's no point. Hey, Hasib, is it showing on the front cameras? F2? Hasib, Hasib. It's not. It's not showing on the TV anymore. It was on the TV before. I don't know why this.
It was on the TV.
Yeah, just can you hit the button again?
Yeah. The mic's gonna feed back. Is you plugging in? You're not doing the cast stuff, right?
Oh, I got it. You just gotta get on the TV.
Was it on earlier?
Yeah, it was working fine.
Oh, okay. Let's see if.
Did you switch something in there?
Huh?
Did you switch something in there?
Nope. Did you try casting something?
No.
It's not gonna reach there either.
Hey. Save it.
You have the screen on your laptop. Okay. Do you have only one HDMI port?
Mm-hmm. Can you hit the H or whatever always long? Yeah. Yeah, that's on.
It's on? I think it came or like.
Yeah, it's on.
It's good?
Yeah.
Oh, we lost it again.
Lost it again.
It's working now. It's just a wire. It's just a wire. It's just a wire at the bottom now.
I have to see it.
Okay, I think we're good. Yeah, now just the cable. Okay, I think it's on. It's on. It's on. Just don't move the wire again.
Use the.
Yeah, is it there? Yep. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
It was connected.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. So inshallah today we'll cover the fiqh of fasting. Very, very important rules that we need to know and understand in order to make our fasts correctly in Ramadan. So we'll go over a bunch of different concepts, inshallah, but the main premise will be about what breaks the fast and what doesn't break the fast. These are the two main things that we're gonna take away from here, inshallah. So before we start, let's establish definitions, because that's always important. So before we start, first, fasting. What does fasting actually mean? What is siyam? It is to abstain from food, drink, and sexual relations with one spouse from what is considered fajr until what is considered maghrib. Okay, so I'm going to talk about, if I don't remember, remind me towards the end, and when I ask questions about the differences the differences in timings for the different prayers. Okay, ask me a question about why are prayer times different. So from sunrise until sunset, It's actually from Fajr until Maghrib. From Fajr until Maghrib. Second is fidya. Fidya is compensation for someone who has absolutely no hope of being able to fast in the future. Okay? Someone who can never fast in the future. And we'll talk a little bit about that and the differences among scholars regarding this as well. Kathara is a punishment, and it is a compensation for purposely breaking the fast. For purposely breaking the fast. Most scholars agree, all scholars agree that the reason why is because of intimacy that is done purposely. Whereas then the madhabs are split. For those who break their fast with food and drink, do they also have to give kafara? And it's an even split. And then we'll talk about in the next slide, inshallah, what kafara is. And then these last two are suhoor and iftar. Suhoor and iftar. Suhoor is the food that is eaten before Fajr time, and iftar is the food that is eaten after Maghrib time. Okay? So what is kafara? Kafara is an expiation for purposely breaking your fast. For purposely breaking your fast. Meaning that there is no reason as to why you're doing it. There's no reason why you are doing it, or at least no excusable reason. For example, a person in the middle of the day, they get tired of fasting, and all of their friends are going out for lunch at work, so he joins them and he eats as well. This is a situation where kafara would be required. So how do you do kafara? There are there's a sequence of 3 things that a person would have to do. They only have to do one of them, but they have to do it in order of availability or possibility. So the first is freeing a slave. Is that possible today? No. So we automatically go to the second one. Fasting 2 consecutive months after Ramadan without missing even one single day. Anyone who misses one day, they would have to restart their count of 2 months. So you do a month and a half, and then you don't want to do one day. There's a wedding that you want to go to, then you have to restart their 2 months of fasting afterwards. The only exception for this is when a woman gets her cycle, then she is absolved from fasting on the days of her cycle, and then it must restart again afterwards. What about a person who is unable to fast for 2 consecutive months? These are 2 consecutive Hijri months. So it could be anywhere between 58 and 58 and 60 days. 58 and 60 days. What happens if a person is unable to fast for 2 consecutive months? Not that it's difficult for them, but it's impossible for them to fast. Then they feed 60 poor people. Each of them are given 2 meals every single day. So you can either give it as cash or you can give it as food, but they must be fed. So you see this, the common number between the 2 options is what? 60, right? The common number is 60. So, and that is double the amount of Ramadan. So you break 1 day of Ramadan, you get 2 extra months of making it up. That's how sacred and special Ramadan is. Okay, it is a pillar of the religion. Now imagine if you were sitting under any of the sides where those pillars are, like between me where I'm here, and both of these pillars fell. What would happen? His ceiling is coming down, right? They support you up. That's what a rukun is. That is what a pillar is. So these are one of the 5 pillars of the religion, and they have to be given their full due. The obligation of kafara drops in the event that there's a valid excuse or a valid reason. So, for example, if a person needs to break their fast because they have to take medication, do they have to give kafara? No, there's no kafara. This is something that you did because you had to do it, and as a result, you have to make up that fast later on. But you don't have. There's no punishment associated with it because you didn't technically do anything wrong. There's also a difference of opinion amongst the scholars as to how many kafaras you have to make up if you break more than 1 fast. So, if you break 1 fast in the month of Ramadan, that would be 60 days. What happens if you break a second fast? Do you have to fast another 60 days or not? The scholars are also divided about that. So some of the scholars, they said that one kafara is sufficient for all of the sins of Ramadan, meaning of all of the breaking of the fasts of Ramadan. And others said no, for every infraction, every mistake, there has to be a different kafara. So a person who broke 4 days of fasting would have to fast 240 days. So 8 months. 8 months, 8 months, but not consecutively. Each 2 months would be consecutive.
Can I ask you a quick question? So if someone who did not fast at all, does that apply to him as well?
That does. Their requirement is for them to fast. If they had no intention of fasting, then that's different. But if a person who began their fast and intentionally broke it, that's who kafara is for. So a person who said, I'm not religious, I don't practice, I don't do any of this, I don't want to fast in the month of Ramadan, they are not required to do kafara for every single day that they skipped. But they do have to make up those days. Who has to fast? Very simple. A sane adult Muslim. So non-Muslims don't have to. And someone who is categorically insane, then, medically speaking, then they are not required to fast. And then the difference here is between an adult and a child. So children are not required to fast. Only adults are required to fast, just like all of our obligations. And what is the ruling? It's fard on everyone who meets the requirement. And it's non-optional. You have to fast in the month of Ramadan. What is the most important condition of this fast? Condition means, how do you initiate your fast? What is the first thing that you have to do? How do you start? The most important ingredient in order for it to be valid. For example, one of the main ingredients of prayer is wudu. If you just woke up from bed, it's Fajr time, and you're really tired, or it's cold, and you don't want to wet yourself because you'll wake up, you just want to quickly pray. Can you just go to your prayer rug, say Allahu Akbar, and start praying? No, you can't do that. What's required? You have to do wudu, you have to do certain other things. Those are conditions. That's how you begin off the fast, right? Okay. For fasting, there is one condition that is a requirement of all worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is in the intention. So the question comes up, a few different questions come up. When do you make the intention? When do you make the intention? What do you think? Before Ramadan starts, okay? Or? The night before. These are the two options. When do you make up when do you make the intention for fasting? So some of the scholars, they said Ramadan is a time of the month of the year where you know that you're going to be fasting the entire month. Every single day you're going to be fasting. So one intention at the beginning of the month is sufficient for the entire month. Other scholars, they said, no, you have to have an individual fast every single day. You know that you're going to pray, let's say you're going to pray Maghrib every single day. So when you wake up for Fajr, can you make the intention for all of your prayers for that day and then that's it? Or do you need an individual for each different prayer? Same concept applies here. You need an individual intention for every single fast. This is their argument. Okay? Now, realistically speaking, in your life, on a day-to-day basis, if you are waking up for suhoor in the middle of the night, you have the intention to fast. Because it's not realistic, it's not normal for people to just wake up at that time and start eating, unless they have the intention to fast. So if you do anything that alludes to you fasting the next day, or you acknowledge the idea that you're going to fast the next day, then that's sufficient. For example, you sleep the night before and you're planning on your day, and typically I bring my lunch to work, but I don't have to because I'm not going to be eating during the day. That's enough of the intention. Or you're preparing your suhoor the night before so that you're ready. Or the fact that you merely wake up at that time to start eating something. All of that is intention. What is not required in your intention is for you to do talaffuz, for you to actually say what your intention is. So sometimes we're taught you have to say something specific, like if you've heard nawaitu an asuma ghadan لله تعالى في نهار شهر رمضان, or something like that, if you've learned that. That's unnecessary, because the place of the intention is where? The heart. So it's an action that you know that you are going to do. You don't have to verbalize that you're doing the intention. However, some of the scholars, they said that if it helps you to keep your intention, then to know that this is your intention, then go ahead and say it out loud, but it's not required. So if you forget to say that, then it doesn't mean that you forgot your intention. Okay. What is the timing of the intention? When does it have to be said? The majority of the scholars said it has to be before the Fajr Adhan. Okay? So the fact that you know when you're going to fast the next day. The only exception, honestly, for a normal person who's going to remain living here is that if you have the intention to not fast at some point in Ramadan, or you're unsure if you're going to fast the night of Ramadan, then you need a specific intention in order to begin. For example, a person is traveling for 3-4 days. They're going to an entirely different place. They're going to an entirely different city, right? And they think on the first day, I'm not going to fast because I'm going to be traveling back and forth. On the second day, they have to have the actual intention. Oh, I'm traveling on this day. I have to make my intention because I have the option of not fasting while I'm traveling. So they have to verbalize. They have to know and acknowledge that they're going to fast the next day. Okay. Preferred acts in fasting. What are some preferred acts? What are some good actions to do? To partake in suhoor. And what this means is for you to eat at some point of the night. And then the second is to eat the suhoor meal specifically in the last portion of the night before Fajr. Okay, these are preferred acts. Now, realistically speaking, Fajr Adhan is, let's say, Fajr Adhan is going to be at 5:30. And you are allowed to pray Fajr until, let's say, 6:40. Okay? And you have to be at work at 7:30. And it's extremely difficult for you to wake up at 5 a.m. to eat, and then try to go back to sleep for 20 minutes before you have to wake up again anyway to get ready for work and then go to work. If you choose, let's say after Taraweeh, you go home, you eat your for the day, and then you go to sleep, and then you wake up after the Adhan of Fajr, and you still pray within the time frame of Fajr, of course, that is okay. Maybe on the weekends, purposely try to be able to, suhoor, so that you can get the benefit. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Tasahharu fa inna fi suhuri baraka." Do suhoor, do sehri, because there's blessings in this time. Okay, do blessings, suhoor, because there's blessings in this time for you to eat and follow the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. But everyone's situation is different. If you cannot do it, it's okay for you to plan around it, within the confines of the Sharia, right? Within the rules. Don't skip Fajr because you have to go to work at 7 or 8, and don't eat in the daytime just because you have to do something. And the last one is to make iftar as soon as the time sets. So again, this is something that I'm going to explain towards the end. But to make iftar as soon as the time comes in. Don't think that if you delay fasting for 20-30 minutes afterwards, then this is something better. Because I want to eat, but I'm purposely not eating so that I can get more reward. You don't get more reward. That's the opposite, sinful. Because you're disobeying the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, so that's the introduction. Now, this is going to be the crux of the presentation. What breaks the fast? Okay, so there's going to be 5 circles on the screen. Each of these describe one component of how the fast ends up breaking. This is the general principle, and along the way, I'm going to be giving you differences of opinion, and I'm going to give you exceptions as well. Okay, the first 3 are the only ones that really matter to you in terms of how the fast is broken. The 4th one doesn't really count, but it's the way that the scholars think. That's why I mentioned the 5th one is the absence of something which causes you to break your fast. So what breaks your fast? Number 1, muftir taba. This is anything that has a discernible body that, okay? Anything that has a discernible body. What is exempt from a discernible body? The air that's around us. The air that's around us. Water has a discernible body. Rice has a discernible body. Right? Food, drink have discernible bodies. Likewise, things that are not eaten have discernible bodies as well, like rocks or grass, sand, dust, smoke, smog. These things, they all have discernible body. This is what I'm trying to get you to understand what that is. If it's something that you can actually see and it has it's something tangible. It's not like air around you. Second, this means it has to enter your body from a valid entry location. A valid entry location. Now, this is a very important concept, and this is where some of the differences of opinion are going to come. Okay. Body from a valid location. There are 7 different places in the body where something can enter into you. 7 different places. Okay? I only mentioned 2 here, but there's 7. The mouth, the nose, the eyes, the ears, the back entrance, and then for the male and the female, the front entrance. Okay, from these last 3 are from the private parts. I only mentioned mouth and nose because the most common places where anything is going to enter into you. But just to answer some of this, the mouth and nose is what we're primarily going to talk about. The eyes are an exception. The eyes are an exception because the Prophet ﷺ, he used to put kuhul on his eyes, and the eyes have a track within you to go straight to your digestive system. So it's a possibility that something like that can break your fast. However, the Prophet ﷺ used to put kuhul on his eyes, and because of that, this is considered an exception where it does not break your fast. So what is something today that you can put on your eyes that may break your fast? Eye drops. Excellent. That's number 3. Number 4 is your ears. Now the ears, classically, a lot of the scholars, they said that it breaks your fast if anything enters, because when it enters into your nose, you can feel it in your throat. And the only reason why you can feel it is because there are nerves there, but there's no connection between the ear canal and the digestive system. So modern day scholars say that this is irrelevant. This does not break your fast. If you are cleaning your ears and you feel something, or if water goes inside or anything like that, it does not break your fast because there is no way for it to go down. So mouth, nose is what we're going to talk about, ears and eyes. Now the rest of it are going to be about the private parts. And the most important thing to remember is our medicines that are applied. These will break your fast. Medicines that are applied, especially things like suppositories for women, these things will break your fast. These things will break the fast. So sticking with mouth and nose, but any of these 7, it has to reach jawf mu'tabar. That means one part of the digestive tract. One part of the digestive tract. That is either the throat, the stomach, or the intestines. Okay? The throat, the stomach, and the intestines. It has to end up reaching one of those places in order for your fast to break. So here's the question. You put something into your mouth. Let's say you have a pen. You put the side of the pen into your mouth and you chew it. Does that break your fast? It does not break your fast. Why? It did not reach the throat. Excellent. That's for the throat. Medicines would go, first to the intestines, but this is what it is. It can't reach the digestive tract. All right. Wusul.
What about brushing your teeth? The taste of the
We're gonna get there. I'm gonna say this answer a lot. Okay. If I'm gonna say this specific answer a lot, we're gonna get there. You can ask your questions. It's fine. If it's not already in it, then I'll answer your question. But the last 6 slides are all frequently asked questions, and that's where you're gonna give me the answer for them, inshallah. The last one is wusul mu'tabar. It has to enter into the body independently. So the classical example that's usually used is something like if you tie up some meat on a string and then put it down, it won't break your fast if it's pulled back out. Obviously, no one is going to do that. That's never going to happen. That's why I said this, we can kind of go over it. The only time that this will actually matter in your life, may Allah protect all of us and our health, is if you're in a hospital and they have to introduce something into your system. Okay? Then that is up for discussion. But other than that, not going to happen. And then the last part, so these first four, they break the fast. And then the last one is irtifa'ul mawani'. There cannot be a valid reason as to why any of these happened. There cannot be a valid reason as to why any of these things happened. Okay? If any of the excuses happen, if any of the reasons are present, then it would not break the fast. Okay? So we'll talk about what is this. What is and what is not considered an excuse. Okay? So on the left side, valid excuses. On the right side, not a valid excuse. All right? So a valid excuse does not break the fast. You continue to fast for the rest of the day. And if it's not a valid excuse, that means your fast is broken because that thing has happened. Number one, forgetfulness. And this is I'm gonna contrast this first one with the first one on the next one, because these two are often confused. Forgetfulness is number one. You forget that it is the month of Ramadan and that you are fasting. You forget. You have a habit. The water is right around you. You open it and you drink it. You put it down, and then you realize, I'm fasting. Then what happens? It is a valid excuse. It does not break your fast. It does not break your fast. Why? The Prophet ﷺ said, anyone who eats or drinks forgetfully in the month of Ramadan, then they should continue their fast because Allah has given you food or drink. Allah has given you food or drink. Okay? So if this happens forgetfully, meaning you forget that it's Ramadan, then you continue your fast. Number two, what is stuck between the teeth before Fajr. So this is very, very minor amount of food. In quantity, it has to be very small. Something that is lodged in one or two teeth. And like all of it together cannot be more than about that size. Let's say like the very small chickpea. Okay? If anything less than that is in your teeth already, and then you swallow it, then it does not break your fast because it's extremely difficult to maneuver around that. It's best, of course, to floss your teeth and to spit out whenever you're able to do that. But if you're not able to do that, then and it gets swallowed, it will not break your fast. And then the last one is unavoidable circumstances. So, for example, you do wudu, you cup the water and you put it into your mouth and you gargle, or you just swish around the water in your mouth and then you spit it back out. Is 100% of the water going to come out? No, it's impossible. As a result, it does not break your fast. Now, if you cup the water and you just start drinking it, it's going to break your fast, right? It's about the water that is left over. That's impossible for you to get out of your system. Allah is not going to ask you. In the Quran, it's in the ayat of fast. If you've ever heard this ayah before, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرَ وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرَ. It's in the ayat of fasting that Allah mentions this. Allah wants ease for you. He doesn't want hard. This is hardship. This is one of those things. If it's left over in your mouth, it's not going to break your fast. It's a very small thing. Similarly, rain, if it goes into your mouth without you can't stand outside, want the rain falling into your mouth and you drink it. But you're walking to your car and it falls into your mouth and you swallow it, does not break your fast. Mucus, saliva, even if it pools up and you drink it, it does not break your fast. Bugs, flies, things like that just go into your mouth, does not break your fast. Smog from you're driving and a car that has had an oil change in the last 10 years comes in front of you, and the ghost of all of the last 100,000 miles, that black smoke that comes out and hits you, you can't do anything about that. You're in the place, it's going to come into you. It will not break your fast. And then the last thing is smoke. Okay, so this is going to be a question later on. So remember the answer. Smoke. What happens if someone is smoking and you pass by them? What do you think it does? Yeah, you inhale it. Does that break your fast or not? So if you purposely inhale, then it does not break your fast. If you try holding your breath and then walking through it and something comes in, that's an unavoidable circumstance. It does not break your fast. Okay. So all of this is about your ability and your how much effort are you putting into it? What is not a valid excuse? What is not a valid excuse? Number one, accidents. Accidents are not a valid excuse to break your to continue fasting. So what is an example? What is an example of an accident? There's that famous video that goes around every year, right? The person was in his kitchen and he said that he fell down and an entire shawarma fell into his mouth and he ate that, and then the water jug fell down. He drank a whole gallon of water and then some dessert or something afterwards. Right? He said all of this happened by accident. Does it break my fast? And then the sheikh is like, huh? Accidents, if something happens by accident, it does break your fast. Accident means that you knew that it is the month of Ramadan and that you're fasting, and it unintentionally went into your mouth and then to your throat. Unintentionally. It's not because you wanted it. But something happened where it accidentally swallowed. Here are a few examples. Are you allowed to brush your teeth in Ramadan? Okay, so you brush your teeth just like you bite the pen, but nothing should go to your throat, right? Okay, you're brushing your teeth, and then you're a little too vigorous, and then it ends up going to your throat. Does that break your fast? It went to your system. It breaks your fast. This is something that you intentionally did. You put the toothpaste into your mouth, knowing the risk of not being able to do it, of it potentially going to your throat, thinking, okay, you're fine. But it was an accident that it got to the back. It breaks your fast. Accidents are not excuses for continuing your fast. It breaks your fast, and that day must be made up afterwards. Secondly, invalidating the fast out of necessity. Invalidating the fast out of necessity. If you have to because you just fainted, and then when you get up, you need to drink a glass of water. There's a reason for it. It breaks your fast because you drank something, right? You drink something. All that means is that you have to make up the fast afterwards, but you do not have to give kafara. You do not have to do kafara. You don't have to fast 2 consecutive months or give any money for this reason. And the last one is unawareness. Unawareness means you don't know that it's impermissible to do. You don't know that something like this breaks your fast. And then you come to find out later on, you must make up that day because unawareness is not an excuse. The rules of fasting are pretty clear, and if it breaks your fast, it breaks your fast whether you know that it breaks it or not. Oh, last one. Being forced. If you are forced to do something, that would still break the fast. All of these are mentioned in this way because none of these require kafara. The meaning here is you have broken your fast for that day, and it must be made up sometime after Ramadan. It must be made up sometime after Ramadan. But there is no sin upon you because all of this was none of this was intentional. None of this was because you just wanted to eat in the month of Ramadan. Okay. So quick summary. What must be met to invalidate the fast? Only a substance with a discernible body breaks the fast. The fast is only invalidated if it enters from an invalidating entry point. So the mouth, nose, and some of the other ones that we mentioned. The fast is invalidated if a substance reaches the digestive system, throat, stomach, or intestines. It has to have an independent state, and there can be no valid excuses that essentially nullify this sequence. What will not invalidate the fast? If it doesn't have a discernible body. And honestly, I can't think of anything other than oxygen, right? It wouldn't break the fast. If a substance enters the body from another place, it is not considered invalidating the fast. This is huge, and we're going to talk about this more as well. If a substance enters the body from another place, it is not considered to be invalidating. For example, injections. So we'll talk about that, inshallah. The fast is still valid if it enters, but doesn't reach the 3 parts. This is also very important. For example, I believe there are some medicines that dissolve in your mouth. Is there a doctor here? Are you a doctor? Are there any medicines that you can put into your mouth that don't need to be swallowed, but they dissolve and then are absorbed by the body from within the mouth?
I don't remember like this now, but I think this is not in the medicine that we can put like if the patient has an angina, like other heart thing, and then we give aspirin or something like nitroglycerin. That patient drops to the tongue.
But it goes to the stomach. So enters the mouth and
Go to the blood.
Yeah, it goes to the blood. Okay, so this is it. This is very interesting because this will come back.
Sublinguals. This is some form of tablets that you put under your tongue.
Yeah,
It's absorbed to the body.
that's what I was asking. Yeah,
It goes to the bloodstream.
yeah,
You don't swallow.
yes,
Those are the only type of pharmaceutical products.
exactly. Okay, so we'll get to this. Keep this one in mind. Anything that does not have an independent state will not invalidate the fast. Again, that's not going to happen. Most of the there's not a likelihood that's going to happen, inshallah. Last one, if a valid excuse is found, the fast remains valid. Okay. Fast. What breaks the fast and requires kafara? Breaks the fast and requires kafara. There's only how many things? No, what breaks the fast and requires kafara, which is as a punishment? How many things?
Eating, drinking, sexual activity.
There we go. 3. Eating, drinking, sexual intimacy. These are the 3 things. All right. Now, here's also something very important. Even in this, there is a difference of opinion. The core, what is agreed upon by all scholars, is only intimacy with your spouse. This is the only thing that actually causes kafara, which is agreed upon. Eating and drinking is something that is differed upon. So the Hanafis and the Malikis, they said that if you do it, you have to make up your fast, and you have to do kafara if you eat or drink something on purpose. The Hanbalis and the Shafi'is, they said no, only intimacy requires kafara. So if something ends up happening where you eat or drink in the day, it will have an impact on how you handle that situation afterwards. But of course, at any point, if you think that you have invalidated your fast, don't just start fasting for 60 days. Come to me, ask me, go to another imam, and explain your situation. Maybe it's not as black and white as you think it is. So here's the rule. Purposely ingesting anything normally consumed with a discernible body without due cause or an excuse while knowing you are fasting. So purposely ingesting is obviously that accidents are not going to require kafara. Anything normally consumed is also important because they say, and there's a difference of opinion on this, but dust, sand, dirt, if all of this comes into your mouth, does that break your fast or does it not break your fast? Everyone says no kafara for something like this. But does it break your fast or not? There's a different opinion. We said that it would, that if it is something that is done intentionally, it will break your fast. But if you are trying not to and it overcomes you, you're not able to do anything about that, it will not break your fast. Without due cause or an excuse, meaning if you're sick, for example, no kafara is required. While knowing you are fasting, if you eat on purpose, but you forgot that you were fasting, then there's no kafara. In fact, your fast is not even broken. Okay. What breaks the fast but doesn't require kafara? Yeah.
Kafara means punishment?
Kafara means that there are three different ways of expiating for purposely breaking your fast. The first is freeing a slave, which is impossible. So the first of the rest of the remaining three, the remaining two is that you have to fast 60 consecutive days. If one day is missed, the 60 days must be restarted. And the last option for someone who is physically incapable of doing that is to feed 64 people twice a day. This is a punishment for purposely eating, drinking, or having intimacy with your spouse in the month of Ramadan while fasting.
And that's for one fast.
This is for purposely breaking one fast. Did I talk about the difference of opinion earlier? The difference is, some scholars say that one kafara per infraction, and others say one kafara for the entire month of Ramadan. Okay, so that's the difference between like 60 days for one versus 60 days for like 4 broken fasts in the month of Ramadan. What breaks the fast but doesn't require kafara? Doing wudu too roughly, where you swallow too much water or it goes too far up your nose. This is something that is serious, because our Prophet ﷺ explicitly told us not to do it. He said to be vigorous when you do madmada and istinshaq. Madmada is when you put the water in your mouth and you gargle and switch it around your mouth. Istinshaq is when you put it into your nose and then you blow back out. These two things, he said, be vigorous to make sure that you are adequately cleaning it for wudu, except when you're fasting. So when you do it this way while you are fasting, it does break your fast. It does break your fast if you're doing it too roughly. The exception, like we talked about, and it will come up even again, is if there's just water droplets left in your mouth and that is swallowed. Eating for a valid cause, like sickness or a valid need, it breaks your fast but doesn't require kafara. So all that means is you have to make up that day at a later time. Having to take medicine, pills, liquids, chewables, inhaler, or a vaporizer, nose drops, these kinds of things, they break your fast. They break your fast because they enter from a valid source and they end up in the digestive system somehow. So as a result, all of these things will break your fast. If you have to take a medicine, right, then obviously your fast is not going to, obviously you're not going to have to pay kafara, right? It's not a punish. You're not getting punished. It's something you have to do. But you just make up the fast at a later time when you are able to make it up. Eating after the adhan of Fajr, thinking that you still had time left. Or eating before the time of Maghrib, thinking that the time of Maghrib has entered. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and well, again, this is something that I'll come back to. He says, كُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَكُمُ الْخَيْطُ الْأَبْيَضُ مِنَ الْخَيْطِ الْأَسْوَدِ مِنَ الْفَجْرِ. Eat and drink until you see the distinction between the black thread and the white thread of Fajr. What does that mean? If you're ever awake, look at your phone when it says sunrise. Not sunrise. When it says Fajr, your adhan. And if you were to go outside before this, by let's say 30 minutes before the Fajr adhan, try to do it if you can one day, just for you to learn and experience this. You will see around the horizon, you'll see 30 minutes before, you'll see it's all black. The whole night is dark black. It's pitch black. 20 minutes before Fajr, approximately, changes throughout the year. 20 minutes before Fajr, you're going to see a white ring around the horizon. And then in a few minutes, that white light is going to go back down, and it's going to be all black again. That first ring is what's called al-Fajr al-Kadib, the false Fajr. And then after this, there's going to be another white light around the horizon. This is al-Fajr al-Sadiq. This is when the actual Fajr time begins, and this is when we pray. This is when we have to stop eating and drinking for fasting, etc., etc. That's when real Fajr begins. And remember this definition that I just gave you, because it's going to be very important in the frequently asked questions afterwards. But this is when you stop eating in Ramadan before Fajr or at Fajr time. Okay, this is what is known as Fajr time. And then for Maghrib, there's sunset. Actually, let me leave this here because I don't want to become disorganized. Just again, someone remind me to talk about prayer times towards the end. Next one. Forcing yourself to vomit and a mouthful comes out. Forcing yourself to vomit, all four madhab say that this breaks your fast. If you force yourself to vomit, it breaks your fast. Let's say, you may be nauseous or something like that, and you just don't like the feeling. Forcing yourself to vomit will break your fast. But if it just happens to you naturally, it just comes out, then the three madhabs say that it does not break your fast. And Abu Hanifa says it doesn't break your fast unless your mouth fills up. If enough vomit comes out where your mouth conforms to it, right? It spreads out your mouth a little bit, that will break your fast, according to the Hanafi madhab. Next, if you start traveling after Fajr and then eat because you are a musafir, okay? This is also a masala that's going to come up again. If you start fasting before Fajr and then you become a traveler and choose to eat, your fast breaks, and it does not require kafara. It does not require kafara. You must make up that fast at a future time. Oh, exactly what I said. Okay, women receiving their menstruation cycle. So if a woman gets her period in the day of Ramadan, this breaks her fast. And of course, there's no kafara associated with that. But she must make up that day, even if she fasted the entire day and only 1 minute of the fast was left. But there should be proper, follow a proper process. The blood must actually exit the body in order for the fast to be invalidated. If only the feeling is there, that's not enough for your fast to become invalidated. The blood must actually come out. You must see it with your eyes in order for you to have to make up that day. Otherwise, if it's not seen, then you don't have to make up the fast. All these reasons require that you make up the day of fasting sometime after Eid. All right. What to do if you invalidate your fast? What do you have to do? Continue fasting. A lot of the times, people may break their fast thinking, my fast is broken, and now I can eat or drink in the day. But as a result, they end up purposely breaking their fast because their fast wasn't truly broken in the first place. So for example, if someone forgets that they're fasting and then they drink a bottle of water, then they think, my fast is broken. Let me just eat and drink for the rest of the day. Don't do that. Stop eating and drinking for the entirety of the day. Your first reason why you're doing that is because you're not sure 100% if your fast is broken. So don't waste your whole day. And the second is, there is a sacredness to the month of Ramadan, where if something happens and you have to eat, then unless you actually have to keep on eating, you should still restrict yourself from eating just out of the sacredness, the hurma of the month of Ramadan. Okay, who is this required for? Anyone who invalidated the fast, a woman who received her cycle in the month of Ramadan during the day, or begins her 40 days of postpartum bleeding, meaning after childbirth. Or the last one is a child who grows up and becomes an adult now from showing one of the signs of puberty. These three should continue the fast for the rest of the day if it is possible. The only one who actually has to do it, and it's a requirement, is the last one. It's the last one. The child who gets who shows signs of puberty, which is hair growth in specific places, having a wet dream, a woman menstruating, or reaching the age of 15. Okay? Then, if any of these happen in the month of Ramadan, they should fast. They must continue fasting. Okay. And the last one was a traveler who wasn't fasting while traveling and returned home. So if you were traveling and chose not to fast, once you arrive home, you should not eat and drink for the rest of the day. What does not break the fast? So this is the opposite now. What doesn't break the fast? Eating or drinking or sexual relations, forgetting that you are fasting. Again, forgetfulness is excused because the Prophet ﷺ said it's excused. If you purposely look at something or think about something provocative and you ejaculate, then this breaks the fast. It does not break the fast because you didn't do anything. You didn't do anything physical. It was just mental, and as a result, this ended up happening. It does not break the fast. However, of course, you're going to be deprived of any rewards of your fast for doing something that you're not supposed to be doing in the month of Ramadan. Having a wet dream also doesn't break your fast. So if you wake up and you realize that this has happened, it does not. Drinking your own spit or swallowing your mucus also does not break the fast. And if you suddenly vomit, okay, a little bit of vomit comes up, and then it just goes right back down, then it does not break your fast. If you are able to spit it out, though, that's best. That's what you should do is spit it out. But if it goes back down, it doesn't break your fast. Again, because you had no hand in that. Okay, it's something that just kind of happened to you. And again, if there's something in your teeth after eating and you swallow it, what you should do is spit it out. But if you don't, then and it just goes down, it doesn't break your fast. Applying oils, lotions, moisturizer, makeup, or kohol does not break your fast. All of these things, except the last one, are superficial. They're on the outside of the body and they don't go inside, right? They don't go to the digestive system. So it doesn't break your fast, and they're not valid entry points. The only one that's the exception is kohol, which is the black powder that's put around the eyelashes for both men and women. Because the Prophet ﷺ did that while he was fasting. Doing hijama and donating blood or getting labs done while you are fasting in the month of Ramadan. So there are 3 different opinions on this. Abu Hanifa and the Hanafi say that it does not break your fast and there's nothing wrong with it. The Shafi'is and the Malikis, they say it does not break your fast, but it is makruh. It's something that you should not do. And the Hanbalis say it breaks your fast. If you do it, it breaks your fast. Unless it is absolutely required, you should not do it in the month of Ramadan out of precaution. Sinful speech also doesn't break your fast. So if you're backbiting, you will deprive yourself of any reward of fasting, but it doesn't break your fast where you can just start eating for the rest of the day. Kissing your spouse also does not break your fast unless there is saliva that is exchanged. If saliva is exchanged, then that breaks the fast because now that's a valid entry point which goes to your throat. This breaks the fast. Using a miswak. Now this is an exception to the rule. Why? Because again, the Prophet ﷺ, if he did something, it was considered an exception to the rule. He would use Aisha radiallahu anha's miswak, which is the toothstick, after she would wet it for him, and then he would use it with her saliva, wet saliva that's still on there, and he would use it to clean his own mouth. So a miswak, even if there's already moisture on there, does not break the fast. This is the exception. This one example is the exception, because that's what happened to the Prophet ﷺ. Showering does not break your fast. Okay? But again, you can't stand under the shower and just drink the water. That's not what we're talking about. And brushing your teeth as long as nothing enters the throat. As long as nothing enters the throat. And last one, water droplets that are left in the mouth and nose after wudu, which then go into the throat. This is something unavoidable, so it doesn't break your fast. So you must try your best to gargle after you're done brushing your teeth and putting that down. But my example is you're currently brushing your teeth and your mouth fills up with so much foam that some accidentally goes down. That breaks the fast. But once you spit all of that out, you're doing your due diligence to get it out of your system. And if some remains at that point, that does not break your fast. What about mouthwash? Mouthwash is the same thing. So if such a sparse amount remains in your mouth, and then that goes down, that's nothing you can do about that. But if you're gargling and a little bit goes into your throat, that will break your fast. Same thing. Who does not have to fast? Yeah. Just tasting does not break the fast. The taste buds are on the tongue. Okay, so even after you're done, even after you fully clean out your mouth and you spit it out, you will still taste some. There will be a roaming, either the actual smell of it, the taste of it will remain, like because there's actual droplets, or the aroma of it will still be in your mouth. Because of this, what you do is you gargle 4, 5, 6, 10 times after you mouthwash to make sure that your spit is clear. Okay, to make sure your spit is clear. Let's say you have like a blue mouthwash, and the first time you finish spitting, it's a dark blue color. Obviously, there's too much left in your mouth. This is not excusable. There's too much left. So gargle multiple times to make sure that it's there's like almost nothing left. And then after you've done your due diligence, if something remains, that's not up to you anymore. That is something that's beyond your. Okay. Who does not have to fast? So these three are about illnesses and healing. When you are very sick, when you fear that your illness will get worse or that your healing will slow down, you are exempt from fasting for that day. You must still make up the fast after Ramadan, but you are exempt from fasting from that day. And then the next two are if you are pregnant and breastfeeding, specifically with the condition that you have a fear for your child. You have a fear for your child. Then you are exempt for your fasting. And the last one is a traveler who is already traveling at Fajr time. This person is also exempt from fasting for that day. Okay, so for the first five, how do you put down a stipulations, right? How do you put down rules for deciding who is too sick? Because sometimes, you can, sometimes you're in a car and you're driving from this side of the parking lot to that side of the parking lot, and you get a little bit of motion sickness. Can you go and go to the buffet after that because you're done for the day? Is that enough? What are the parameters for sickness? What do you think?
You require medical treatment.
You require medical treatment. Interesting. Okay. A chronic illness. Okay. Advised by a medical professional. Excellent. Fasting will deteriorate. Yes, but that's actually on there. Right? It'll make your illness worse, or it will make the healing go down. But how do you know that the sickness itself is a valid excuse, a valid sickness? That's the question. Right? You can't move? You can't move. Too sick to move. Okay. You know? As a sick person, you just know. You don't have energy. Okay. Very good. Here's the rule. There must be a legitimate fear. Legitimate fear. Where one of the two scenarios are present. You have overwhelming speculation due to previous experience. You have gotten sick. Everyone has gotten the common cold. Okay? Not everyone has gotten has had to been bedridden because they had the common cold. You have the sniffles, your little congestion in your nose. Does that mean you don't have to fast? No, that's a little ridiculous. A little bit of congestion and you don't have to fast. But it also doesn't need to be as what's the word? As severe or extreme where a person has cancer. Right? There are ways in the middle on how to navigate this properly. So the first one is you have overwhelming speculation based on what has happened in the past. You know that if you don't eat or drink, something bad is going to happen. Your healing is going to slow down, or you're not going to be able to, it's not going to get better, or it's going to make things worse for you, and so on and so forth. As a result, you are allowed to not fast. Overwhelming speculation is based on your own self. That's your own That's your own self because you have some sort of experience. The second one is a trustworthy Muslim doctor tells you not to fast. Why Muslim doctor? Muslim doctors and non-Muslim doctors don't have different education. So why a Muslim doctor? Because all non-Muslims are liars? No, that's not the right answer. A little bit more than that. The Muslim doctor understands the sacredness of the month of Ramadan and what it means to you. So there is oftentimes there's going to be a level of discretion that's left up to the physician. He or she can decide what the course of treatment is going to be. Sometimes they're just erring on the side of caution, which is unnecessary. So a Muslim doctor who knows that you don't have to fast, but recognizes the importance of the fast of Ramadan, may give you one piece of advice, allowing you to fast, saying, look, there is a slim chance that this is going to happen, but you can go ahead and fast anyway. And then a non-Muslim doctor may not understand the nuances of the sacredness of the fast and say, look, it's probably better that you don't fast, just out of precaution, just out of safety. So that's why they say go to a Muslim doctor. If you don't have access to a Muslim doctor, then stick with your own doctor, but try to make sure that they understand how important it is to you to fast in the month of Ramadan. What if you can't fast? Yeah.
So one question on the traveling. So I've seen people like they start because it says at Fajr. So if somebody I've seen people traveling from let's say from Pakistan, and they start their journey, and although they're a traveler, they're not supposed to fast, but they're not sure when they're going to break their fast because of the time.
Oh, I'm going to get there.
Okay.
Yes, this is another question where I'm going to get there. That's going to be, what if you can't fast? If you can't fast for a temporary reason, such as you're sick, such as you are traveling, such as you have to take a course of medication that can't be delayed. That's one side. The other side, you have strong speculation that you can never fast again, such as some people with diabetes must eat. There are examples of people who have diabetes who are able to eat who are able to fast throughout the day and properly maintain within their eating windows so that their health doesn't deteriorate throughout the day. But if you have strong speculation that you can never fast again, for example, a person who's very elderly. There was a story from Texas a few years ago. There was a man who was 90 years old. And he came to the Imam, he said, this is the first time in my life since I began fasting where the doctor said I'm not allowed to fast. First time. And he was crying, saying, is there something else? What do I have to do? What's my compensation? And et cetera, et cetera. Because in, almost 80 years, he fasted every single year without missing a beat. So this is, he was told he can't fast, and now he's at an age where it's not like things are going to get better. Things are just going to get more and more difficult. So if you cannot fast for a temporary reason, what do? You eat and drink during the day as you regularly would. You eat and drink during the day as you regularly would. For example, a person who is let's say the person has a very severe illness, okay? And they're taking a course of medication multiple times a day. They have to take the medication with their food, go and eat and drink. You can act as if this is not your fasting day. It's like any normal day, okay? And eat and drink in that capacity. And then after Ramadan is finished, when you are healed, you can go ahead and make up those fasts. So it's required to make up the fast. The excuse of being sick is not enough to not fast forever, but you just simply make up the fast when you are done. You do not pay fidya. Now, there's a difference of opinion on this as well. So, the scholars are broken up into this. This is specifically for the for illness, everyone says the same thing. There is no fidya. You make it up when you are able to make it up. There is an exception for two situations. for a woman who is breastfeeding and a woman who is pregnant. There are 4 opinions. There are 4 opinions, but 3 of them are amongst the 4 madhabs. The Hanafi say there is no fidya. All you have to do is make up that fast whenever you're able to make up that fast. The Shafi'is and the Malikis, the Shafi'is and the Hanbalis, they say 2 things are required. You must make up the fast every day that you missed, and you must also pay a fidya for not fasting them on time in Ramadan. And the Malikis, they say something similar to this, saying that you don't, they say you don't have to fast the month of Ramadan because you have that fear, but you also don't have to make up the fast afterwards. You just have to give fidya only. So you're only giving the food or the money to other people. But they add a stipulation: you have to have fear, legitimate fear, for the life of your child, not for yourself. So those are the opinions regarding when, for a woman who is breastfeeding or pregnant and doesn't have to fast, what she has to do in addition to anything else. If you have strong speculation that you can never fast ever again, what do you have to do? Give fidya every single day that you can't fast. Give fidya every single day. Fidya is what? Fidya is the monetary compensation or the food that is given for someone who believes that they can never fast ever again.
Is it also number of people who fidya, just like Kafara 60?
Yes. It's not the number of people that you pay. It's the volume of food that you must give to one person. And then the scholars differed based on, do you have to give them food for 1 meal a day or 2 meals a day? And it's based on sa' or half a sa'. Essentially, the number for fidya is the same number as zakat al-fitr. The number of fidya is the same number as the number for zakat al-fitr at the end of the month of Ramadan that you give before the Eid prayer. The same number. Actually, this is a good time to mention. So Sheikh Joe Bradford, one of the leading scholars in Islamic finance now, he has a zakat calculator. 1 second. So let me just answer that one part. He has a zakat calculator that he recently published sometime last year. This is for your yearly zakat that is owed. This year, just last week, he added onto it for zakatul fitr calculator as well. Now, what does that mean? How much is zakatul fitr? Someone tell me. $15. Anyone else? 10? So it ranges between 10 and 15. Some places say 12. Where do these numbers come from? I am so convinced someone just made them up. So convinced someone just made them up. I tried finding it out. But 5 years ago, I was extremely frustrated. This is my previous masjid. I was extremely frustrated. I had a family of 7 people, parents and 5 kids inside the house. They have so many expenses that they have to pay. And then they were just saying $15 per person. You have to give zakat al-fitr for every single person in the house. For 7 people, that's a lot of money for one person when you're living paycheck to paycheck. It is unfair. It's a level of dhulm to impose more on a person than what is required of them. So from that point until this year, I go to the stores myself every year and give a number. That's what I did last year. If you remember, our number was significantly less than everyone else because zakat al-fitr is on staple foods of the land in a specific volumetric measurement. Okay? And that will always be a very small number. No, there are rules for zakat al-fitr. It's waived in a certain situation, but typically almost everyone has to pay zakat al-fitr. What's the last thing I just said? Yes. So last year it was like the number came out to 8 something. 8 something, and that was a conservative amount. In fact, actually, the Hanafis are the most lenient in this, and they say it's half of the amount that the other 3 madhabs say. So it's actually a lenient approach. But I went up a little bit just to make sure that we're not in the realm of difference of opinion. And then I told everyone in the khutbah last year, this is the actual amount, if that's what you can pay, and then we're rounding up to this number just for ease for people, so that you don't have to do all of the math with the change and stuff like that. And then what you should give is based on your situation, if you're able to give more than that. That's what I said. Joe Bradford has made things significantly easier by you enter your zip code and your income level, because the Prophet ﷺ actually gave different classes of staple foods based on a person's income. Okay, based on a person's meaning not income, but like worth or whatever they were able to pay. So he incorporated that in there. That's not something that was easily able to. You couldn't easily do that before. So now you put that in. You put your bracket of salary in, and you click submit, and you put your zip code in, and you click submit, and it's going to give you a price for your locality. And because we live in Massachusetts, it's extremely expensive living in Massachusetts. The cost of living, not just rent, mortgage is higher, but groceries are higher than other places, right? So all of that is taken into consideration. But the people who propagate $10 or $15 across the board doesn't make any sense, because some place in the Bible Belt, in some small rural town, is not going to have the same expenses as LA or Boston. It's going to be significantly different, and that has to be taken into consideration. Otherwise, it falls into dhulm. That was a long tangent. I'm really sorry, but the point of mentioning that was Joe Bradford has his calculator. If you Google Joe Bradford's Zakat al-Fitr calculator, you'll find it. But I'll also be sending it out, inshallah. Yeah. You are allowed to pay overseas if it is more beneficial. I usually advise people to give in your locality. We have a lot of people who are Zakat al-Fitr eligible, even Zakat eligible in our community. So it is beneficial. The benefit of giving overseas is that the amount of Zakat al-Fitr will be less. Like you'll lose less money. But the benefit of it, the pro of giving it locally is much better, and you also have the added benefit of helping your local community. All right, so we're done with the actual workshop now, and there's going to be 6 slides on frequently asked questions. So I'll read the question, and then you answer the question. Okay. Number 1, if I have an exam, can I break my fast? No? Agreed upon. No, this is not a valid reason to break your fast. It is not a valid reason to break your fast. I had a friend who had to take step 1 and step 2 in Ramadan. That's the medical board exams, which are 8-hour-long exams, each during fasting time, and he passed both of them. Don't break your fast. It is not worthy. Your success in your exam will specifically come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do not do something to upset Allah in order to get something that only Allah can give you. If I am feeling sick, can I break my fast? If I am feeling sick. Conditional question. When fiqh starts, everyone becomes lawyers. No. What's the answer back there? Unless a medical condition. If I'm feeling sick, can I break my fast? Only event that the doctor tells you to break your fast, or you have previous experience in the sickness, should you break your fast. Okay? Only then. If previous experience can literally be like yesterday. It doesn't have to be 10 years ago. It can be like, okay, yesterday was way too much. I'm not able to fast today. That's sufficient. Does taking an insulin shot, vaccine, or other injection break my fast, or using IV? Think about it. Some yeses, some no's. It doesn't go into a valid entry point. It does not break your fast since it does not enter from a valid entry point. Now look, here's an exception. When you are eating, what is one of the purposes of food? To get energy. Okay, to get energy. Okay, what else? To give you strength. There's a specific word I'm looking for. Nutrients, excellent. Mashallah. Nutritional value of food is one of the reasons of eating. Okay, so here's the question now. If something does not enter into your system, if it does not enter from a valid entry point, but it gives you the same benefits of food, isn't that going against the purpose of fasting? And you're restricting yourself from these nutrients. Yes. So how do we navigate around this? It does break your fast. Okay. Insulin shot, vaccine, or other injections break my fast, and then IV. So the insulin shot and the vaccine, and most other injections will not break your fast. The IV and any other type of injection that is giving you nutritional value, then this is where there's a difference of opinion. According to all of the principles that we've learned so far, it wouldn't break your fast because it's not entering from a valid entry point. However, many modern day scholars, they say the purpose of an IV is the same thing as eating and drinking. You would not have to give kafara, but your fast will most likely break. The best thing to do in this situation is to make up that fast just in case after Ramadan, if you have to do something with nutritional value, an IV or an injection that gives you nutritional value, you should make up that fast, because again, Ramadan fasts are not something that you should compromise on. You should not be risky with. Yeah, I mean, if you're at that point where you have to. That's a separate situation. But there's also situations where a person who is very sick doesn't need to eat or drink anything, and simply they can attach the IV. But there's also ways for you to self-administer at home. So the question is not about how or why you get to that point, but about the fact that it's entering into the body anyway. If I am traveling, can I break my fast? Someone said no. Someone said yes. Why? You can skip fasting during Ramadan. That is true. Okay. If you begin traveling before the Fajr Adhan, then you have the option to not fast at all. But if you begin fasting after the Adhan of Fajr, then most of the scholars say you are not allowed to eat or drink during that day. You cannot break your fast, because the fasting began, and traveling is not a valid reason to break your fast. It is only a valid reason to not fast. The exception is for the Hanbalis. The Hanbali madhab said that if a person is traveling, then they have now entered into a state where they are allowed to eat or drink. Therefore, they can break their fast. Now, this is where I answer that question. Say a person is going on a very long trip, and their flight takes off right after Fajr, and by the time they land in wherever country that they're going to go, it'll be significantly longer than whatever amount it would have been if they just stayed in place. Or just the fact that they're going to be traveling and there's so much difficulty that food and drink will significantly help them throughout this journey. Then my advice is, in those situations, go ahead and break your fast, even if it's like right after Fajr, and make up that fast after Ramadan. But if you are able to maintain your fast, this is much better and it is safer. So for example, a person who is let's say a person who is fasting, and they travel at 2 p.m. and their fast breaks at 5 p.m. Okay, if they're going to travel east, okay, let's say they're going to Umrah, they're going to Saudi, then when you're on your flight, you're not going to have 3 more hours of fasting. It's going to be less than that because you're going towards the east, right? So keep your fast. There's no reason to break it and then have to fast a whole nother day. You can just wait until you see the sunset, not in the destination, not where you took off from, but where you actually are. Just look outside and break your fast at Maghrib time, okay? Now, if it's 5 p.m. and it's like, 5:30 is iftar, but you're going to California and that's additional 3 hours, and you've already been fasting for 12, 15 hours, and it's going to be extremely difficult, go ahead and break your fast if you must. But these are the easier situations. The harder situations are when you're going to travel around Fajr time or after Fajr time, and you'll be traveling all day long. In those situations, go ahead and break your fast whenever you become a traveler, and make up that day when you are when you're done, inshallah, when Ramadan is done. No, of your current location. Yeah, in the plane, you open the window and look. If the sun is there, you eat. You don't eat. If the sun is gone, you can eat. That's as simple as you can say, right? Yes. Because throughout the entire time, there's never a point where the sun sets where you physically are. Yeah. Louder. The conditions of being a musafir. So a person who intends to go about 50 miles away from the edge of their city. Okay? So for example, if I live in Worcester, then 50 miles outside of the edge of the city of Worcester, if that's where I'm heading to travel, then I become a musafir as soon as I exit Worcester. Even before I arrive at my destination, but I'm traveling about 50 miles, then you become a musafir. Now, all of my examples of traveling is about a person who is traveling long distance. If you are going to go to Boston and then come right back, which is not that difficult, you're not really doing much else other than what you would be doing except driving, which is still just sitting there and looking at the road, right? Don't break your fast in that situation. You are traveling 60 miles on a daily basis. You're traveling. Yeah, but don't eat every Ramadan. Okay, if I see a Muslim eating during the day in Ramadan, what should I do? Beat him. No, that's not the right answer. Huh? Never mind. A little longer. Remind him. Okay? Before him and his thoughts? Between him and Allah. Okay. So we have two things to take into consideration. The likelihood of a person fasting or not, which influences what your responsibility is, and that Allah has told us al-amr bil ma'ruf and nahi 'anil munkar. Amr bil ma'ruf and nahi 'anil munkar, which is what? Commanding people to do good and prohibiting them from doing evil, right? So this is a responsibility on every Muslim. So you have to speak up. So how do you balance between these two things when you see someone in Ramadan someone in Ramadan who's eating or drinking? So different situations. Let's go bring that lawyer hat back on. If it is a sane, healthy man, and there's nothing that is preventing that would make you believe that there's a reason why he's not fasting, then you should remind them that they are fasting. You should remind them that they are fasting. Okay? Obviously, if you can't tell that the person is Muslim or not, then you don't do anything. But if you know that the person is Muslim and it's a man, go ahead. And this is for men. Go ahead and remind that person. If it is a woman, you should not do anything. You just assume that she cannot fast in the month of Ramadan and stay silent. If it is an old man or old woman, then you should assume that they are not able to fast. Okay? Just assume that they are not able to fast and don't bring that up. Oftentimes, for people who have fasted their whole life, it is very difficult to acknowledge that they're not going to be able to fast again. Don't bring that up for them and make it even harder. Last one. If it's a child, then what do? Nothing. They don't have to fast anyway. Can I brush my teeth while I'm fasting? Yes. That's not the right answer. Conditions. Yes, as long as none of the toothpaste goes to your throat. If it does, it invalidates your fast and you must make it up, but there's no kafara. You're going to feel the taste when it's in your mouth because the taste buds are on the tongue. Yeah, but make sure you spit out as much as you can, gargle, rinse your mouth to make sure all of it is out. If I walk by someone who is smoking and inhale the smoke, does my fast break? Good. Only if you intend to do it. If you purposely inhale, then it breaks your fast. If you try to not inhale it, but it goes in anyway, then it's excused. It does not break the fast. If I use eye droplets, nose spray, or an inhaler, will it break my fast? Who's not paying attention? You're not paying attention? Nose sprays and inhalers will break your fast. Eye drops will not break your fast. There's only one paying attention. Eye drops will not break your fast. Why? Prophet ﷺ used kohol, and it's a valid entry point. As a result, eye drops will not break your fast. Nose sprays and inhalers will break your fast. Now, here's something else that we're going to talk about with inhalers. Does an inhaler break your fast? It says yes on there, but think about it for a second. According to all of the things that we've learned so far, it would break your fast. It would break your fast. Now, a lot of modern day scholars, they are arguing the opposite. And they're saying it goes to the throat, but it does not pass to the throat to the point where it's going all the way down to the digestive system, and it's just, it goes into your throat, but just for it to go straight to your lungs, and then it stays in your lungs. And there's no nutritional value for an inhaler. So therefore, it does not break your fast. This is their argument. Now, some modern day scholars are making this argument. It is still safer for you to not use the inhaler unless you absolutely need to. And if you absolutely need to use it, then go ahead and make up that fast afterwards. This is safer, and it is more precautious for a pillar of your deen. The exception to this is for people who use vaporizers. There is no difference of opinion on a vaporizer. Okay, a vaporizer is another form of the inhaler, but the vaporizer has vapor in it. It has water, and it will go into your system. That will break your fast. What about a person who has to use a CPAP machine? CPAP machine is for people who have sleep apnea, can't breathe properly, and they have to put it onto their nose or onto their nose and their mouth, and it's pressurized air that is pushed into the body. Would that break your fast? Yes. Medical condition.
I'm not sure, but I don't think so. There's no medicine in there. It's just the air that's being pushed. So I would assume
It's not? Not tangible. So, what did you say? It is tangible. No, we said air is not tangible. Yeah. So does that break your fast? With the doctor? Does it break your fast? CPAP.
just like oxygen.
Okay, excellent. So there's two parts to mention. First is the air that goes into your system does not break your fast. That is not tangible. Even though it's pressurized, it does not break your fast. However, most CPAP machines have a humidifier. You put water into the machine, humidifies, it turns to water, right? I mean, it's water anyway you put it, but that goes into the air that goes into your system. If you leave the humidifier on, it will break your fast. It will break your fast. He said it's usually used at night, but people sleep in the daytime as well. You can use the CPAP machine in the daytime. But if the humidifier air goes directly into your system like this, it will break your fast. Yeah, it will break your fast. Same thing goes for when you're cooking and you move the cover off of the pot and that bowl of steam hits your face. That will break your fast. Another thing. Is that in here? Hold on, let me see. I don't want to give you the answer if it's in here. Eye droplets will not break your fast, just as medicine applied to the ears will not. Okay, let's see. Hopefully this last one that I'm thinking will come. If I have a nosebleed or my gums start to bleed, will my fast break? Will my fast break? No. It says yes. A nosebleed or gums bleed. Gums are around your teeth. Depending on the amount of blood. Interesting. I can't hear you. Just a louder. Shouldn't break your fast. Okay. As long as it doesn't go to the three systems. Good. Okay. Anything else? Ooh, does it go in the same category as saliva and mucus? Very good. All right. If any blood gets to the throat, it will break the fast. If it does not, it will not break the fast. Okay? Why? It is not in the same category as saliva or mucus. Saliva and mucus are in this area as a result of it naturally being there, doesn't break the fast. Blood is not naturally there. Okay? It has to come out. It's not just present all the time. It has to come out. Something has to bring it out. If that happens and you end up drinking it, it does break your fast. It does break your fast. Okay? Even if it is unintentional, it does break your fast. But there's no kafara. You just make up that day afterwards. If I have relations with my spouse at night, but I do not make ghusl before the Fajr adhan, is my fast considered valid?
The nosebleed, does the amount of blood, does that count or
No.
not? Okay. So you can use that.
Yes, any amount.
As long as it's not going to the throat, you're good.
As long as it doesn't go to the throat, yeah. If you have a nosebleed and you catch it right away, that's the only way. Otherwise, you just go a little bit like this, it's going to go down. It's only if you catch it right away. Gums are much easier. That you can just keep on spitting out until your gums start bleeding. Same thing goes with the lips. If you have a lip bleed, which will go, actually, hold on, I'll cover that in a second. If I have relations with my spouse at night, but I do not make the ghusl before the Fajr adhan, is my fast considered valid? You have to do ghusl. It's valid. Okay. Yes, it is not a requirement to be on tahara, to be purified in order to begin your fast. This is what breaks your fast. The Prophet ﷺ would do this, and then he would take a shower before he prayed Fajr prayer. Okay, so it does not break your fast. Just like if you are sleeping and you have a wet dream, it does not break your fast. Lip balm or Vaseline while I'm fasting. Yes, as long as you don't swallow it. Excellent. You are allowed to use it as long as it does not enter into your throat. As long as it does not enter into your throat. Okay? As long as it does not enter into your throat. If a woman, If a woman begins menstruating during the day in Ramadan, is she allowed to eat? Is she allowed to eat? Yes, she is allowed to eat, but it's preferable to abstain from eating out of the sacredness of the month if it's possible, but there is no sin associated with it if she does so. She is allowed to eat. And it should not be done in public, as it is closer to maintaining modesty, and others don't know what is going on. If a woman stops menstruating during the day in Ramadan, what should she do? Fast the next day? Okay. She should act as if she is still if she is fasting that day. Okay? She should continue, meaning she should start to fast for the remainder of that day, even though it's not considered an actual fast. She still has to make up that day after Ramadan, but she should abstain from eating and drinking for the remainder of the day. Just like a traveler who arrives home before Maghrib and was traveling ahead of time and not fasting. If a person is doing a makeup fast outside of Ramadan, so you miss 2-3 days in Ramadan, okay? And then you're gonna make it up in December. You make it up in December, and then you get really hungry, or so you get an invitation. Someone invites you to lunch, so you break your fast. Do you have to give kafara? Yes. My dude's just gonna say conditions for every question now. If a person is doing a makeup fast outside of Ramadan and they purposely break, do they have to give kafara? A lot of head shaking, but no one's saying anything. Don't be shy. What's the right answer? Excellent. What an answer. No. The answer is no. No kafara is required. Why? Because kafara is specific to the month of Ramadan. Only to the month of Ramadan. Not the fasts of Ramadan, the month of Ramadan. Can I drink coffee during suhoor? Yeah, it's intentional fast. My example was you're making it up in December and someone invites you for lunch. There's no more intention than that. There's no 60 days. In this case, there's no 60 days. Can I drink coffee during suhoor? Or chai? Why am I asking this question? That's a good question. That is a good question. Things that are seemingly so apparent should be asked. Why is the question even there in the first place? Why is the question even there in the first place? It's not just about answering the question. It's about asking why is the question like this being answered. Okay, very, very good question. Because what did we talk about? Nutrients earlier on. The fast is to exempt, or is to prevent your body from receiving those nutrients during the day in Ramadan. That's why you can't eat or drink. That's why you can't have an IV. Right? So if you are drinking coffee, you drink a little bit of the coffee, aren't you going to feel the effects of the caffeine after Fajr? Yes, of course you can drink coffee, you can drink tea, you can drink anything that you want before you can drink anything that you want beforehand. But this brings up the additional question, because the same thing requires other things. What are you allowed to take caffeine, slow release caffeine tablets? Amazon, other places sell these slow release caffeine tablets that for the next 12 hours will slowly release into your system, so that it's like you're getting the caffeine dose, even though you're not taking it at that time. You took it at 5 a.m., but it's still working at noon. Okay? That is allowed because you ingested it before Fajr. Same thing goes with electrolytes. Excellent. Same thing goes with Same thing goes with stimulants. Any type of medicine that you're taking that are stimulants going to keep you awake, right? It's going to it's going to affect you throughout the day. Yes. Can you have gum? Let me say that 1 second. Just so that we're clear, you're allowed to drink coffee and tea. Yes. But what was the reason why I asked the question? Because there's effects afterwards. That's what we have to consider. Okay. I'm surprised no one said this, but if you eat 5 minutes before Fajr, aren't you going to have the effects of the food after the adhan? Yeah. Okay. So it's okay. Yes. Are you allowed to chew gum? Very good question. Are you allowed to chew gum? Why can you chew a pen but you can't chew a gum? You can't chew gum. Flavor. Well, we just said flavor. There's nothing wrong with tasting anything. Aha. So what happens if you're chewing gum and you spit it out?
It's for pleasure, for some.
It's for pleasure.
But toothpaste would be a necessity.
Toothpaste is not a necessity. Toothpaste is a fard for some people in the community, yes. It should be. But it is not a necessity. No, it is not a necessity. That was considered darura, is very limited. And brushing your teeth is not a darura. Yes, but so is toothpaste. It creates extra saliva which goes inside, okay? Yes? The answer is, if nothing goes to your throat, it does not break your fast. It's the going to the throat, into the digestive system from the valid entry point that breaks the fast. So it does not. However, you shouldn't do it because the likelihood is almost guaranteed that your fast will end up breaking. But the distinction is very important to mention, because if someone forgets this and Ramadan puts a piece of gum into their mouth and they just chew and then they realize all of a sudden their fast is not broken. They have to continue that fast for the day, just spit it out, and they don't have to make up that day. Should I stop eating suhoor a few minutes earlier than the adhan and wait a few minutes after maghrib to start eating? This is the question. This is what I was going to answer. Okay, so here are a few things that we're going to take into consideration. There are differences in almost all of the prayer times. Okay, all 5 prayer times have some kind of additional scholarly debate about them. Fajr and Isha are well known about the degree of the sun in relation to the horizon, which dictates whether astronomical twilight has been reached or has set completely. Okay, meaning Fajr or Isha. That is a debate. So throughout the country, throughout the world, depending on the country, that timing is different because of different scholarly bodies believe different things. In America, we primarily, following Isna, do 15 degrees and 15 degrees for Fajr and Isha. Okay? But if you go throughout the world, you're going to see different things. Maghrib is also different. So if you have an app on your phone, 2 different people may have 2 different times. Why? Because astronomical sunset is simply the disk of the sun disappearing below the horizon. But actual Maghrib is after sunset. So the scholars, they differ throughout the world, they differ between the time coming in at 1 minute after actual sunset up to 3 minutes. So there's a window of 1 to 3 minutes. If you use the Adhan app, then they automatically do a 1 minute offset for Maghrib. So the actual sunset has happened. You can check the times for sunset on dateandtime.com. Just put in Worcester sunset. You'll find all of this time. And this app, the Adhan app and Islamic Finder calendar specifically, always adds a 1 minute offset to delay it to make sure that it comes in. Other apps do more. The